Okay, welcome to the stream. Sorry, the office hours had some technical difficulties. I'm using a two camera, two monitor setup today, and it picked up all the wrong settings. So next time, I know how to fix that. So a bit of a different angle this time. I'm sitting in a different part of my office. Basically, this is my main desk, but now I'm like pointing it back towards the corner. Makes me feel a little bit more comfortable because now I can work with a second monitor, which I think is fantastic. So if anybody would like to talk about meme warfare, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Um, and really, what I want to do is basically a close reading of two articles that just came out. And I think these two articles kind of sum up my feelings on things. And I also want to talk about um, some of the ways in which we could be talking about memes in the age of basically schizophrenic administration talk, like understanding like how to communicate in a world where the governments of the world are basically doing meme warfare, but it's meme warfare really isn't even um, I don't even call it meme warfare anymore. It's like something that like I can't even imagine like using that terminology. Um, so I mean, we'll talk about it from that perspective, but really, it's not really something that you know I would even consider meme warfare. Okay, well, um, let's talk about this article first. Before we get there, let's talk about an article that just came out in the New York Times Magazine. This was posted on April 6th. This is just a few days ago, and this article really like made me like I was very, I want to do a quick close reading of this because I think it's important for us to see. This article is called Forget the AI Apocalypse. Memes have already nuked our culture. And this is by an author who is pretty good, Willie Staley. I recognize this author because a while back, Willie Staley wrote this article last year, How the Manosphere Became Mainstream Entertainment. And it was like written in February 19th, 2025. And that was the point where um, I was just starting to I wasn't even thinking about my proposal yet, but really that was like kind of an inspiration for me on how I was going to write my book proposal about how the manosphere became culture, not just mainstream entertainment. But Willie Staley kind of put this up there in terms of like, okay, well now we can start talking about the manosphere in terms of like how it became prominent in the way that people are watching media in general. Um, so, not to say that he's not a great writer. He's good. He covers things in a very good and cultural way. It looks like it's mostly for the New York Times Magazine. And one of the things that was interesting about this article in particular is that it really reads as though people are coming across memes like for the very, very first time in general. And like this is 2026. And I'm going to be doing a comparison of this article to this one um, written by Ryan Broderick over in Garbage Day. He wrote an article, which I'll show in a minute, um, that was called "A Fake War with a Fake Ending" about the meme warfare of the Trump administration. But before we get to that piece, because I think that's the heart of what I want to talk about today, I want to talk about this piece here. Forget the AI apocalypse. Memes have already nuked our culture, which is a pretty hyperbolic statement, if you ask me. I mean, that's like it's an insane amount of like presumption on like what memes can actually do. And it's framed around a very interesting framing device, as the New York Times is wont to do, in terms of um, and so this article it frames it in a very strange way. This article frames it in terms of the 6-7 meme in general. And that was, I think, fairly fascinating. And I think that's like great because it's kind of just a very normie way of approaching memes. Um, so let's talk about that one first. Okay, so this story talks about this like very much a very common thing that journalists do, and same with like LinkedIn things, which is this: you reframe like stories around like how your children interact with the internet, and it gives you approach to like being able to talk about internet content. And so this one says, a friend told me a story recently about her son. He's about 9 years old and doesn't have much access to social media. Well, okay, that's fine, you know. And again, now here we have a framing device. It's told me a story recently about her son. So now we're like a friend, story, son. So we're like three people removed from the subject itself. Okay. And but it's really, the point isn't about that. The point is that he really wants to talk about the 6-7 meme. But the only way to do that is through a frame of a frame of a frame. For those of you who are just joining, I would love for you to introduce yourself in the chat. If you have any questions about memes or meme warfare, that's what I'm going to be talking about for the next 45 or so minutes. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to put it down there. If you are coming across this for the first time, I would love to know how you found out about it and ways in which things you would want me to talk about in the future too. So we'll cover that as we go. But right now, I'm just starting off for just to reboot, doing a close reading of this article. Forget the AI apocalypse, memes already nuked our culture, in the New York Times magazine. It's a very long form article. I'm going to assume it's a range of 3,000 words. It's similar to the article of clavicular and looks maxing, which was like an introduction to manosphere content. I'm not saying this article is irresponsible. I think it's actually fairly good. But it does, its framing is very strange. So it basically is about this kid who asks, "What is the 6-7 meme?" And the parents are like, "Well, it doesn't really mean anything." And the kid allegedly has like this breakdown of like, "Well, it's got to mean something." And I don't know, like as a 9-year-old, I'm not really sure how invested they are in meaningless stuff. But I guess anything that comes across as something that's part of the other Dada-esque is very much like, I guess, very confusing for young people. But this, it spends a lot of time talking about the 6-7 meme before it really gets into this thing. Um, so I'll read something here too. Okay, so here's something to that. It's almost obvious to say most of what people do on social media is copy other people. And like, of course, that's true. This particular parent, if you flip over to a highly algorithmic feed, For You on X, Instagram Reels, the entirety of TikTok, catchy phrases, joke format, funny audio clips, these repeat over and over. Now, of course, I'm going to have to criticize the New York Times and how they approach platforms, because when they approach platforms, typically um, they're not really courteous to the reader in terms of like warning them about what they will see just by saying the For You on X. Like the For You on X is maybe algorithmic, but it really is unconstrained in terms of like what other algorithms exist. X's algorithmic feed is extremely inappropriate. It would be hard for somebody to explain when it's framed around showing internet to children, a 9-year-old, that you're talking about X, where if you open X like on a subway, you're really risking somebody seeing over your shoulder something either very pornographic or something that's like filled with Nazi content. So X isn't exactly a good example in terms of what algorithmic feeds are. So it keeps on going. Now it also goes to this 2021 Pew Research Center survey. And again, this is the New York Times explaining this to a readership, but like this data is already out of date. We're talking about the second Trump administration, which isn't even based on like the first Trump administration's meme usage. It basically says in that study that most people are lurkers; they're not posters, and that's okay. By accepting the posting thing, is that you're mostly consuming content. Something I've written about, last March. Okay, so if you remember, this article comes out April 6th, a few days ago. But last March, I wrote about this. In 2024, brain rot was selected as the word of the year by Oxford University Press, beating out other words like lore, demure, and slop. Last year it was rage bait, and the reason I was talking about this was I was invited on CBS News last March to talk about bait. Online distraction, which beat out aura farming, another meme, and in 2023 it was Riz. And my whole take was like the last few years have just basically been internet words have been the words of the year, which again is just evidence. As I mean, those of you who know me know that like the evidence is consistent that there is no distinct separation between the internet and life itself. Like having the internet as our space is like understandably something that people should like they shouldn't separate it. There's no dualism. There is an online and there's an offline. There is all the time at once. So 6-7 may have come from the internet, but really it is an IRL meme. When I say IRL meme, it means that it's usable. Its most use happens in real life. It doesn't happen online. Just because it sources from an online environment doesn't exactly mean it's an online thing. Around the time that 6.7 was corrupting our youth, something happened I hadn't seen in a long time. A magazine article went viral. This used to happen a lot before Elon Musk acquired Twitter, but this article seemed to spark culture-wide anxiety. It was about something called gooning. And of course, he's not going to talk about that. I want to spin down a little bit here because what he really talks about is he's trying to make a comparison between the idea of artificial intelligence flattening reality and what it means for memes to do this. And this stuff, many memes we consider authorless have or human origin point that has been lost under layers of accretion and mutation. All of my research from 2013 to present has basically included that as a caveat. And again, I understand this is like an introduction for people to see this for the first time, but it's not exactly something that's new. And if you're just simply barely online, just breathing online. And I think the point this author is trying to make is that in an era where people are using memes as warfare, that this type of meme, while it shows up as like a very banal thing, kind of alludes to the idea that like when the Trump administration uses this, they are doing it in a different way than people are using it. So here it is. It's no secret the Trump administration adores its memes. Staffers have repeatedly made headlines with gleefully nasty deployment of them. Gleefully nasty. What's most striking is how fluent they appear to be and how widespread the habit is. Here's the Energy Department posting Simpsons memes native to Act. The Labor Department making sly references to QAnon. Here's the great gutted Education Department posting Franklin the Turtle meme about its own uselessness. And the department here is, but no agency has been willing to demonstrate its online bona fides, quite like the Department of Homeland Security, which repeatedly makes posts drenched in imagery borrowed from the online right. That's an understatement of the year. That is one of the most insane understatements I've ever actually seen anything to be said. Because when you really look at like what the Department of Homeland Security is doing, they're not exactly just doing things that are like borrowed from the right. They're literally posting things that are wildly. I'm going to give this example here. This is one that I use in class and I gave talks on last year. This is a post from the Department of Homeland Security DHS Gov site, and this post is absolutely wild. This post is not comparable to the 6.7 meme by any means whatsoever. What you're seeing here is an image borrowed from a book. Well, it's a painting by John Gass, but it's borrowed from a book cover that is about white supremacy and the idea that Manifest Destiny was a genocidal act by the United States, as it had this illusion that God itself was offering the United States to the people by removing the people who originally lived here. But there's something even crazier about that. This requires not just a basic internet literacy, but just really a media literacy, because it's not just a groyper or a far right thing coming from 4chan, but it's really about what messages they're trying to say here. I've shown this tweet to my students and asked them questions about it in order for them to understand how to reread how the government is posting memes at this point and what they should really understand from it. And this is a dangerous meme. Not only does it contain this image of this John Gass painting of the angel walking the colonizers across the United States, but up here in the post, in the text itself, is super problematic. I mean, I could ask the chat here if you guys wanted to know, but like, I'm just going to point it out. There's a couple capitalized letters here. They both happen to be HH, all right? I mean, D is capitalized, but the HH means something. But I think more important than that, the HH wouldn't mean that much if it wasn't the fact that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 words that make up this tweet. So the HH capitalized is literally, when we're looking at this tweet, we're looking at the 1488 meme instead of the text. This is literally white supremacist Nazi shit coming across the screen. And like, that is so different than what the article is trying to say, which is like, sure, AI flattens reality and crushes it down to the idea of like something as simple as a 2-digit word that's coming across that could be repeated ad infinitum. But it isn't the same as trying to explain that the US government is partaking in an actionable way of interacting with its audience specifically so that it talks to them and reinforces the idea of white supremacy and the hegemony that they want to reproduce in terms of like hatred. Okay. So that's in there. So I want to compare that, of course, to Ryan Broderick's take, which I thought was really, really important. Um, and here's what that was. And so this is Ryan's take, and I was really proud of being mentioned in this. And again, like just to note, if anybody just arrived, you could say hi, leave any questions, let me know where you're coming from, how you found the stream. I would love for you to, if you have any questions that you want me to bring up or you want to talk about or something that's been on your mind, I'd be glad to talk about them here too. So feel free to add anything you want into the chat. Um, so this piece that Ryan Broderick posted yesterday is far better than that New York Times piece. Ryan Broderick, as you guys know, is, and if you don't know, you should know, he is a internet culture journalist who has been doing this work for pretty much as long as, oh, awesome. That's cool, man. Nice to see you. The He's been doing this work for about 13 years, and it's cool to see you in this chat, Mike. I think that's Mike. Because you took these courses, so this is kind of be like something of um, your somewhat of a bit of a background part here. The So Ryan Broderick writes this article, and it was really proud. I'm proud to be quoted in this, which is nice. But he writes about this meme warfare that's been going on between Iran and the United States, um, and this is so much better in terms of trying to understand what we're doing right now. First off, for those of you just joining him, to recap this, Tuesday was not a great day for me. It wasn't a great day for, yes, the AI logos I'm going to talk about in just a minute. Tuesday was not a great day. It's not really a great day when the president of the United States mentions like destroying an entire civilization without being specific about it, because my first thought would be like, how do you destroy an entire civilization? Well, that would be like nuclear warfare, which is like terrifying because the world will never any cavalier use of a nuke will be like never the world will never be back to the same way it will be again. So it's really kind of like really stupid. So this is Ryan's take on this was pretty interesting. So nothing has quite succinctly nailed gerontocracy psychopathy than our current moment better. A suicidal mania that last night, to quote President Donald Trump, almost caused a whole civilization to die, never to be brought again. But the long and unfathomably stupid road to last night's brush with nuclear Armageddon has not been a traditional war by any means. The US government has spent a massive amount of energy not just fighting a war, but also a meme war. Or perhaps, to put it another way, the increasingly obsessed perception online they are winning the war and see it as just as important, and if not more so, than actually accomplishing anything militaristically. And this is it's not, no one on this who's watching this or no one who's taken any of my classes should be surprised by any means about the fact that this administration uses memes as part of their warfare. It's part of how I would say, in partial ways, in the first administration, Slash Poll is partially responsible for his. Oh, Mike, another Mike, this is about to get crazy. Okay. In the first administration, you could arguably say that. The Trump administration has Slash Poll to thank. And as some of you who do not know this, Slash Poll was launched the day after Jeffrey Epstein met with Chris Poole of 4chan. And so it is somewhat possible, though not confirmed, that they are connected. It makes you just a little cynical if you want to like really follow those things through. But and then to jump ahead of the second Trump administration, you could probably thank Charlie Kirk. So that there's just two different models of being elected. But in the case of this, it doesn't mean that Trump has left behind the memetic warfare of the first administration. Ryan reminded me that I wrote this article in 2020, and I completely forgot that I wrote this article. And in 2020, I wrote this piece about how we are already lost the meme war. Now, this is an article about our time we got in a situation with Iran. Okay. We've already lost this meme war, I wrote. And this image of this blurry American flag is what Trump himself posted just after his extrajudicial assassination of Iran's General Soleimani. Okay, so just after. And so this is the meme that he posted directly from his account back before he was banned from Twitter, which was a blurry American flag. And I just thought that the possibility of him just Googling American flag and then just posting the quickest response was important. And Ryan quotes me in this part. Trump is a mimetic thought leader who commands via visual rhetoric. The goal is to please his audience, much the way an Instagram edgelord does. And by the end of January 3rd, this is 2020, World War III was trending and the memes were omnipresent on social media. And some of these memes will not be out of date today. There's still the same type of memes that we would laugh at today. And you can see how people react to memes today. So World War I, the news, World War II, the news, and World War III, mimetic warfare or mimetic understanding of it. And this is an understatement of all time because on Tuesday, I was extremely worried about World War III. I was like really sick to my stomach. I couldn't really do anything aside from like chores. And even that was like kind of tough. And so I'm going to go back to Ryan's article here because far better than the New York Times bit, those of you who are just joining, because now I see more people here. And like for those of you here, if you want to introduce yourselves, if you don't have to do that, it's kind of awkward. Or if you want to just say like how you found this or what you want to learn, or if you have any questions about this, anything, I'll be glad to answer. That's what office hours are. I'm here to just like kind of chat and like talk about what I've been studying, what I've been reading, and talk about what I've been like, how I study these things. This is just a more casual approach to the work that I do in my newsletter, new media homework, and to the stuff that I do with Destiny on our Network Issues podcast. So this is just like kind of like a take on like my primary research areas. So it's kind of like good to see. And again, I'm comparing it to this article in the New York Times about that AI isn't really the biggest thing here. It's that memes have already nuked our culture, which is Willie Staley's on something that is a discussion from 13 years ago. So neat, cool. Making those big NY Times bucks. Back to Ryan's article. Okay, so Jamie Cohen, a professor at media studies, wrote a piece at the time about the futility and nihilism of war, talking about how we already lost the meme war. The goal is to please his audience, which he certainly did, but he also convinced right-wing American users that the meme war actually existed. And you may remember this, but if you do not remember this, it is important for you to know this, that in the 2016, 2017 era, that's funny, it's a 6-7 there, is Donald Trump Jr. had in his bio, and he might still, I'm not going to go check, he had general of the meme war in his bio on all his social media things. And it's like, man, there's a level of loser that's probably unachievable by most people. But man, he is like, it's just very easy for him to achieve it. Trump's 2024 electoral victory helped solidify the meme war narrative. And I do appreciate Ryan consistently using the quotes on meme war, especially since Trump's podcast bro whistle stop tour proved more decidedly effective than Kamala Harris's Brad offensive. And the political campaign, mostly shaped by narratives of popularity, is much closer to a meme war than an armed conflict. But Trump, who learned early in his first time to never stop campaigning, doesn't seem to have grasped the difference. When Trump Kool-Aid manned his way back into the White House last year, he seemed to have a proper game plan, Project 2025. And so for those of you who might think that the meme war is continuing, it is no longer that. What we're actually operating in is at the space of Project 2025's directives. And so a lot of the memes are really distractions that are moving away from what the memes are trying to do. And again, I'm just going to bring back up, just for the sake of like reiterating it for those who have just arrived here, I'm just going to re-show the meme US.gov one of the dog whistles that they put into here, which is just so fascinating, because when we're talking about the idea of Project 2025 versus what meme is, this meme is devastatingly different than the first administration. This is literally the 14 words with the 88 Heil Hitler notes inside of it. This is a meme that is so far right that it would probably have been taken down off of the original Twitter of 2016 and 17. And now in this time, it's like obviously still here. It's from July 23rd, 2025, and has 17 million views, although it's questionable about how many views actually operate on Twitter as it is. But that doesn't make sense any longer in terms of like comparing it to the meme warfare of our present. So back to Ryan's article. Okay. So last summer, Trump posted a montage of fighter jets to his Truth Social account set to a 1980 parody of the Regent's Barbara Ann called Bomber Ann. The video was retruthed nearly 9,000 times, but it's not entirely clear that Trump actually posted or was even aware of the video, seeing as it went live as he was complaining about the rising tensions between Israel and Iran. We have two countries that have been fighting for so long, they are hard to know what the fuck they're doing, he told reporters at the time. Also, just as a note, he says like fuck a lot, and he says it in a tweet, and he said it on the other morning, which I'll get to in a second. And it's always fascinating when like there's always this consideration of like how to be proper and not to say the F word. When Pete Hegseth posted the FAFO meme a while back, FAFO or fuck around and find out, they asterisk the fuck. Like at this point, why be a coward? Like just say it. Like if the president is gonna say it, why walk around the word? It's also like maybe it's the idea that the words still have some sort of say. But you could see that basically their attempt at using memes are for trolling. Okay, that is their attempt whatsoever. Here's them responding to Bernie Sanders, which is a very good clapback meme, but in this case, it's like ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. What's the point of censoring? Like, there's no real point at all in censoring because it's just a word. It's also, as anybody who's been my student knows, like I like to use curse words because it like depowers them so you could use other words more importantly. Like at this point, wouldn't that be more effective for them? It's everybody has their own opinions on this. All this is getting to is the fact that there is a meme war, so to speak, that's been going on in the background of all of what we're experiencing. Iran, in particular, is far more reserved when it comes to like posting actual memes about it. Their embassies do post memes, but they're much more snarky than they are about like media itself. But there is this team that is under this channel called Explosive Media that are making these AI logo videos, and these AI Lego videos, and these Lego videos are just so fast. They are so devastating when it comes to what people will be like looking at. And so I'll share one of these AI Lego videos. They're pretty just a content warning a bit, I guess, if there's anything worth content warning at this point. I don't know. But these videos are, they're aggressive, I guess is the way to put it. Let me find this. Here we go. Okay. Videos text. Could you imagine like what is that? Fruit Island as AI videos? That would be hilarious. Okay, so here is, it wouldn't be hilarious, just to be clear, but here is an AI video that the Explosive Media created.
Israel targets Iran.
I think you get the point on that one. The Lego videos are all diverse and different, and they're very blunt. Let's put it that way. They don't hold back. They say exactly what they want. They're not technically memes. A meme requires us to make a reference to something that people understand. And again, that's where the New York Times article completely fails in terms of explaining memetics. The New York Times article does not explain that nuance is the language of memetics. It isn't about copying. The author, Willie Staley, writes that the idea of memes is that they copy memes or they copy information over and over again. That is not exactly what it is. Yeah, God, complex much. Yeah, it is. unbelievable how different this language is and how different it is for communication standards to happen. And for the New York Times to basically be writing about the 6-7 meme at this point, while the president of the United States is saying the F word and threatening genocide at the same time that basically fanboys of the Iranian regime are producing content designed specifically to tell us specifically, they aren't memes, they're producing content in the shape of Legos to um, to say exactly what they're saying. It's not even hidden. And yes, let's get some minions in there is a really great. That's an honestly a fantastic point because without the minion memes, there is no Lego memes being made by the Iranian government because it's a perfect point. I'm actually not sure why the minion memes aren't being used because that is actually fairly brilliant in terms of like memetic warfare. Maybe you should get into memetic warfare. The minion memes open the door for this because they are not technically of the internet. They are of a corporation. They are Illumination Pictures, and by using minions on any type of memetic thing is basically boomer bait. It was meant for older people to share content lightly because the minions appeared in Lego. I'd rather refer to it the way that Ryan Broderick does when he says or repeats what happened after the right after the loss of Soleimani. And so here we are with a 2-week ceasefire and a 10-point plan that Trump is bragging that he came up with, that he absolutely did not come up with. One that basically gives Iran everything they wanted in the first place, a fake war carried out for internet clout with a fake ending. Incidentally, an Iranian leader described all this 6 years ago during the fallout from Soleimani's death and one of the devastating takedowns of America ever uttered. Quote, think about it. Are we supposed to take out Spider-Man and SpongeBob? And Iranian cleric Shabab Maradi asked during a TV interview, quote, they don't have heroes. We have a country in front of us with a large population, a large landmass, but it doesn't have any heroes. All their heroes are cartoon characters. They're all fictional. And that is apparently also true for our wars. Devastating, Ryan. Like, give him credit for this one. That is, talk about an article and get a sober view of what's going on. And I hate to consistently be critical of the New York Times because they are the paper of record and they play an important role of informing society. But for that exact same reason, I'm critical of the New York Times. To write an article about the importance of 6-7 versus the importance of what of a 1488 meme on the DHS.gov site is irresponsible. At this point, we're talking about presidents threatening genocide and the news basically covering it up by saying, oh, it's silly absurdism in that way. If they want to make a comparison between like 6-7 and like funny memes that the government posts, then I can make a same comparison by another way. If we're not being critical about how we use the internet and we're not being critical about how we talk about internet media when we share it with others, it really becomes mixed up. It becomes very like we won't know how to understand how to talk to each other about it. And it allows bad actors to basically step in to be the experts and fill that gap. I get asked questions literally all the time from parents, random parents who are just like, "Hey, I saw this seal meme. This is the new like trend that's going around, like this very IRL trend." And they're just like, "Oh, it's like brain rot or slop or 6-7." I'm like, "Oh, see, they're all just mixing these things together because they don't have education in the K-12 environment or in primary and secondary education that explains digital literacies. And without that, all these words just become mixed up. And that mixing up isn't isn't so bad, but it is bad in terms of like forgetting the past and how it happened. The seal meme, which is basically just laying on the ground and grabbing your feet and blopping around, it's like looking like a seal, is really the same thing as owling, or it's the same thing as planking. If you guys remember these memes, like these are memes from the 2010s that were basically meant for photographs. You do them and they're participatory. It helps you do it. And if you go back again, it's like two branches. It's the branch challenges come from the cinnamon challenge, and most all challenge or IRL memes are like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Like these are all the similar challenges that happen. And while they might not use the term challenge, it's the same type of mimetic shape. And the reason I bring it up, and the point that I want to get to with all this, is you get things like, let's see if I can find it. Here it is. This is problematic as hell. Okay. So Now, this is posted on Threads, and just as a pre-note, I'm not going to play the audio for this, by the way. Just as a pre-note, the Threads is known as the gas leak social network. I think it was Max Reed who said that, and then everybody sort of uses it. Max Reed, who also coined the term the Zinternet for like when the internet split by gender. So now there's a girls' internet and a boys' internet, um, and the boys' internet is like Zinternet, which is basically has the manosphere and like the Hawk Tuah memes, like all that stuff. And the girls' internet is a completely different one, which I'm not getting into. But Threads as a platform, if you haven't used Threads, is like a platform that when you get on Threads, you will usually enter in the middle of a conversation that sounds as though people have been breathing a toxin for a while. Like you just don't know where anything is going. Um, but I've been seeing on Threads a fair amount of these posts. Um, yes, boys' internet is very scary right now. Actually, I would love to talk to you about that in real seriousness. I'm doing a lot of research on that, and I would love to learn more about what you're seeing in terms of boys internet because I maybe we'll set up some time to talk because that is something I'm so curious about. And I learned a lot about girls internet from many of my students. Boys are less interested in talking about boys internet. So yeah, and Brianna, very good. Yeah, it's very not a good idea to be on Threads. It's fun. It is. It's a fun place, but it is. I always think of it as like a fresh hell. When I turn on Threads, I'm like, what fresh hell am I going to see today? Because everybody is like freaking out. Like the energy is like not great. I feel very not great after I use it. Um, oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll be in contact. But I've been seeing this on Threads, and this kind of supports the thesis of the gas leak social network. This is Tucker Carlson. Everybody's saying like, woke up this morning agreeing with Tucker Carlson. That's how you know the moment we're in is upside down. And look at how many likes, 34,000 likes, 2,000 comments, almost 4,000 reposts, a bunch of shares. You do not, under any circumstances, have to hand it to Tucker Carlson. Okay, let me just be clear. Okay, I don't know where that's a meme to something else. Let me be clear here. Tucker Carlson is a bad actor. He is a white supremacist. He considers himself a white supremacist. And he is the guy who, on his show, oh, I'm sort of talking in his cadence, which is kind of funny. He's the guy on his show that promoted the white genocide theory of South Africans being killed off, which has now resulted in, get this, 99.9%. This is the number 99.9% of current immigration into the United States comes from South Africa. Okay, so that is so he is that effective in terms of sharing that type of information. He is what I would consider is like one of the primary bad actors in terms of our modern media environment. But what he's saying is agreeable because he's disagreeing with the administration in terms of like the genocidal tendencies of the president and the fact that the president is being a bad person by using the F word. Like it's very easy. I'm talking like easy and extremely low hanging fruit to agree with this. Like if you're just agreeing with it, it's just that he's an influential person. And so by agreeing with it, it makes him seem as though we're doing it. And a lot of that meme, that onion meme that appears all the time where it's like, um, the worst person you know said something great, which is like, yeah, sure, agree with, but it doesn't make it worthy of what we're doing. It actually makes me only think of like this very, very funny meme, which I did find um, on the same platform. But here's an Onion headline that makes me actually think about what that feels like. There it is. This is how it feels like to me when I see people using that platform or like thinking about anything that's happening at this point. Drooling imbecile rocks back and forth in delight while watching Arby's clap back on Burger King on Twitter. Like that's how low hanging that fruit is. Okay, that's how simple it can be. And if you are basically doing things as as simple as that, that is lower than the level in which I'm interested in helping people out. And so this era that we're living through is very different, I guess is the way to put it, in terms of meme warfare, again, in air quotes, because it's not technically a war, it's one sided. It means that the Americans are fighting a meme war, and they always have, and nobody else is. All right. So there's just no other place where it's happening. So it's not really a meme war so much as it's a meme display. And these guys, these meme creators that work in the government may be Groyper adjacent, they may be 4chan adjacent, and it really does require like a media literacy to basically pick apart the understanding that yes, this comes from official messaging. It comes from the U.S. government, which means that places like the New York Times will read it as official rather than read it as what it truly is: psychotic garbage from the internet of drooling imbeciles rocking back and forth in delight while watching Arby's clap back on Burger King on Twitter. Like that's what it really is. But when you live in a real world with real governments and real presidents and real power structures, you have to at least try your best to report on it like that. And so that's what they're still doing. It's just that now it requires my work to become a little bit more intensive in terms of like how the words I have to say and what I have to explain, because it is a bit harder than it used to be when I was trying to do this. So this is all to say, like I'm glad for the job security, albeit through the horrors that surround us. But I would I just want I just need us to like be a little bit more vigilant, and that's like why I always talk about it. And so before I go, I'm going to hold this for a few more seconds. Does everybody has any thing that they want to talk about or share? I will be in contact with you, Mike, to talk about the boys' internet because I am fascinated with how dark it is right now, and and Sophia, I'll even love to talk to you about the girls' internet too, like just to see what people are even looking at, because my internet is broken, like real broken. Like mine is like because the amount of stuff I follow, nothing works really properly at all. So, um, yeah, so that's basically what I've been working on this week. It's really just the keep catching up with the meme warfare. And how we're communicating. It wasn't, like I said, and I hope this extends to anybody who's watching this stream. Oh wow, yeah, he's still on there, huh? Yeah, we're clavicular is something I think maybe I'll talk about a bit more next week, because my graduate class. I teach a graduate class on Monday nights called Tactical Media, and we've been talking about clavicular as as a frame, and it's important to understand like he does talk about his frame in terms of the frame. So maybe we'll come back to the way that clavicular himself is shifting the way that boys internet actually operates. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. But yes, on this channel, on the same channel that this is, make sure to watch Network Issues, which is the podcast I do with Destiny Day, and she and I speak about all of the um, issues that basically were covered here. Yeah, the first episode I think is called the White House social media episode, which is a retake of my interview that I had in Times Square that a Dutch news agency asked me about. And then today's episode that we put out was actually pretty prescient, Destiny. We were talking about the meme warfare ahead of Wired Magazine sharing an article about it, and about in front of Ryan Broderick's. It's like, so today's episode that we just posted today is about the Iran's meme warfare, and also the warnings that I have to responsibly provide to you all about what happens when AI systems fail. It doesn't always mean it's the end of an AI bubble. So please watch Network Issues on this channel. Please subscribe. And please send me emails, or you know where to find me. If you found the stream, you know where to find me. With any questions or things you want to talk about, or if you want to share something that you want to talk about, and I could post it on the screen if you wrote something or created something. And I'll be back next week without any issues next time. I hope. I pressed too many buttons this time. Because I set up the system a bit different. I have the monitor over here and mic, everything broke. Okay, it broke. It won't break next week. I'll be back next week at 1:00. Thank you for everyone who's been here. Please subscribe so you can keep up with all this, and follow newmediahomework.substack.com and subscribe to the playlist, or keep the playlist link for Network Issues, the podcast. And I look forward to sharing time with you next week. Thank you all for being here. Have a very great and wonderful week that hopefully doesn't have any more threats to the end of the world. Let's hope for the best. Have a good one.